Welcome back to the Wellbeing Check. I'm Stephanie Cunningham, spiritual life coach, Reiki master, and empath. And if you were just nodding along with me during the last episode on highly sensitive people, thinking, yes, but there's more going on with me, this is the episode you've been waiting for. Last time we talked about HSPs. Today we're talking about empaths. And before you think this is just the same thing with a different name, it's not. There's overlap, yes, but being an empath goes a layer deeper. And if you are one, there's a very good chance you've spent most of your life thinking something was wrong with you. There isn't. There never was. Let's get into it. What is an empath, really? An empath is a person who's capable of feeling the emotions or physical symptoms of other people, even when they themselves are not going through the same situation or event. Not just picking up on a vibe, actually feeling it in your body, in your energy field, sometimes before you even know it came from someone else. It's estimated that between 2 and 4% of the population are empathic in this way. That's not the same thing as empathetic. Empathetic means having the capacity to understand and share feelings. Most emotionally healthy people are empathetic to some degree. Empathic is something different. It's not a skill or a practice, it's a trait. Something you were born with. Something that has always been there, whether you had a name for it or not. And most empaths, for most of their lives, don't have a name for it. They just know they're different. They know they pick up on things other people don't. They know they feel everything more. They know that certain people drain them completely, while others fill them up. They know that walking into a room sometimes hits them like a wave. The energy, the tension, the joy, the grief, even before anyone has said a word. And because they've never been handed a framework for understanding that, they've spent years, sometimes decades, being told they're too emotional, too sensitive, too reactive, being diagnosed with things that they may not actually have, medicating something that isn't a disorder, trying to fix something that doesn't need fixing. You're not broken. You're an empath, and that's a gift. An actual, legitimate gift to humanity, one that comes with responsibility and one that requires understanding, but yes, still a gift. Here's the simplest way I can explain the difference between HSPs and empaths, because this question comes up constantly. Being an HSP means your sensory processing system is more sensitive. You take in more data, process it more deeply, and you are more affected by your environment. It's primarily about how your nervous system processes information. Being an empath means you go farther. You actually absorb the emotional and sometimes physical energy of others. You don't just sense that someone is sad. You feel their sadness as if it were your own. You might not even realize it came from them. You might think, I felt fine before I walked into this room and now I feel terrible. What's happening to me? What's happening is that you're picking up on someone else's energy, absorbing it, running it through your own system. Being an empath is often described as a form of clairsentience or clear feeling, a spiritual gift that everybody has access to. The ability to sense and read energy through your heart center, your body, your whole being. And when it's understood, when it's trained and worked with consciously, it's one of the most powerful and purposeful ways to move through this world. When it's not understood, it's exhausting, confusing, and often isolating, because you're carrying things that don't belong to you and don't know how to put them down. One thing I find really helpful for people is understanding that empathy exists on a spectrum. On one end, and I know this might sound like a strange place to start, you have narcissists, people with an extreme lack of empathy, who are largely oriented around themselves and their own needs. On the other end, you have empaths, people with an almost boundless capacity to absorb the experience of others. In the middle, you'd have what I'd call loving, empathetic people, people who genuinely care, who feel for others, who are emotionally attuned, but aren't taking on other people's energy into their own field. And then between loving, empathetic people and full empaths, you have highly sensitive people. Heightened sensitivity, deeper processing, more attuned to the environment and other people's emotions, but not necessarily absorbing them wholesale. Interestingly, and this is something worth knowing if you're an empath, narcissists and empaths tend to be attracted to each other. The empath's deep well of compassion and the narcissist's need for attention and validation are a draw in both directions. If you've ever found yourself in a relationship, romantic, friendship, work, whatever, where you consistently felt drained and the other person consistently seemed to take without giving, that's worth examining. All right? Awareness is everything, remember. There are actually different types of empaths as well, and they don't all work the same way. Most empaths are actually a combination of several, so see if any of these land for you. Emotional empaths feel the feelings of others, sadness, joy, anxiety, excitement, as if they were their own. This is probably the most commonly recognized type. Physical empaths pick up on the physical symptoms and even medical conditions of others. They might feel someone else's headache or sense some physical discomfort in a person they're near without understanding where it's coming from. Geomantic empaths are sensitive to the energy of environments and places. They feel deeply connected to certain places, homes, land, nature, and can sense when that energy has shifted. They often feel a profound need to be in nature to reset. They might cry when a tree is cut down. Sound familiar? I see you. Intuitive empaths know things. They know when someone's lying, when someone needs help, what kind of help someone needs. They're often described as having psychic qualities because they do. They receive information through a channel most people don't have access to. There are more types: animal empaths, plant empaths, global empaths who feel the collective consciousness, even Heyoka empaths who act as mirrors for others, reflecting people's energy back to them so they can see themselves more clearly, and medium empaths who are receptive to the energy of those who have passed. Most empaths are a blend. What's important is that you start recognizing your signature, how your empathic gift actually shows up, what your specific sensitivities are, and where you most frequently find yourself absorbing energy that doesn't belong to you. That recognition is where management begins. There's some mistakes that empaths make. And this took me a long time to understand. And I want to say it clearly because I think it will save some of you years. When you feel something, that doesn't automatically mean it's yours. I know this sounds simple. It is genuinely radical for most empaths because we are trained from childhood, culture, and every message we've absorbed to take responsibility for our feelings, right? Feelings are ours. We must feel them, process them, do something about them. If I'm sad, I need to figure out why I'm sad, right? That's what we're quote unquote trained to do. But for an empath, this framework breaks down because sometimes the sadness came from the person you passed in the hallway. Sometimes the anxiety spiked because you sat next to someone at lunch who was carrying something heavy. Sometimes the dread that settled over you at 4 p.m. was the collective stress everyone around you was feeling, not just you. And if you don't know that, if you automatically claim every feeling is your own, you end up digging into your personal history looking for a reason for something that isn't about you. You internalize it, you process it, you maybe even believe it tells you something about yourself, when really It was just energy you picked up, energy that belongs to someone else. Here's something from the happy sensitive. You might think, I feel sadness. Wow, it's a lot. I didn't realize I was sad. Perhaps it's because of what happened to me last week. That must be it. And just like that, you've embedded someone else's sadness into your own energy field without ever knowing whether it was yours in the first place. Interesting, right? The practice, and it is a practice, is to pause. Before you go deep into a feeling, simply ask, is this mine? Where was I before this started? What changed? Did I walk into a room, get off a call, enter a different space? If the feeling appeared seemingly from out of nowhere, it may not have originated with you. That doesn't mean you ignore it. It means you don't claim it as yours to solve. There's something called trained empaths versus untrained empaths. And this is the whole game right here. This might be the most important section of the entire episode because everything about thriving as an empath comes down to this. Are you trained or untrained? An untrained empath has the gift of clairsentience, that deep feeling, that absorption of others' energy, plus a whole set of unconscious beliefs and habits that keep stimulating them to take on other people's energy and give away their own. They don't have the tools to understand what's happening. They are unaware what they're feeling may be coming from somewhere else. They internalize everything. They feel it all as deeply and urgently as if it were their own crisis. They feel scrambled, dominated by whatever is happening around them. A trained empath still feels everything fully. That doesn't go away, and you wouldn't want it to. But they have the awareness and the skills to take a more neutral, discerning stance, to feel the energy, recognize it for what it is, and choose, yes, choose, how much to let in and for how long. They can feel someone else's sadness and be present with it without dissolving into it. They can use the gift without being used by it. The analogy I love for this is, imagine you're playing goalkeeper in soccer. The balls still come at you. You still perceive them, but you've learned to kick them away before they enter the goal. You have agency over what gets through. You're not helpless in the path of whatever's coming. You have skill, and that skill was built by practice, by awareness, by making choices over time. You don't go from untrained to trained overnight. It's a practice that builds. But every time you catch yourself absorbing and making a different choice, every time you ask, is this mine? And decide not to claim what isn't yours, you're doing the work. You're building the skill, and it gets easier. Trust me. Being an empath does come with strengths. Let me be clear about what you actually have, because we spend so much time on the challenges and not enough on the gifts. And the gifts are real. You're deeply intuitive. You sense things that others miss. You know things before they can be explained. That's a gift in your personal relationships, in your work, and your ability to navigate situations and people. You are profoundly connected to others, to natures, to the divine. You live in a reality that has more texture and depth than most people ever access. The things that move others a little move you deeply. Beauty, music, meaning, meaningful conversations, acts of love. You don't experience these shallowly. You are a way shower. People come to you. They always have. There's a reason you're the person that people open up to, the one people turn to in need. You're a guide, a light. Not because you have all the answers, but because your presence creates safety. People feel met by you in a way that's rare and healing. You're a powerful manifester. Because you feel deeply, you create with your whole energy, not just your intentions. When you're aligned, when you're clear, when you're moving from your authentic center, you call things into being with uncommon force. These are not small things, and these are reasons the world needs empaths, not in spite of what you feel, but because of it. All right, we like to get practical, right? So let's talk about what can actually help you thrive. The things that make the difference between surviving your sensitivity and, like I said, actually thriving inside of it. All right, you know what's coming. Awareness first, always. You cannot manage what you don't recognize. So the first practice is simply noticing. How do you feel right now? Where were you before you started feeling this? Who have you been around today? What environments have you been in? Build the habit of checking in with yourself regularly. Your body is giving you information constantly. Learn to read it. Energy management is non-negotiable. This means being intentional about who and what you let into your field. It means creating structures when you are with others and when you are alone. It means fueling up regularly in nature and stillness and whatever truly replenishes you. And it means making your personal environment, your home, your workspace, a sanctuary. And it means saying no, unapologetically, when your system is telling you it doesn't have capacity. Be the dominant vibration. This is one of the most powerful shifts an empath can make. Instead of walking into a room and just absorbing whatever's there, choose your state consciously before you enter in the room. Come in grounded, centered, clear. Let your energy set the tone rather than taking on everyone else's. This takes practice, but it is possible. And when you do it well, you stop being a sponge and start being a light, which is what you actually are. Know what's yours and what's not. We talked about this, but it's worth mentioning again as a daily, consistent practice. Anytime you feel a strong shift in your emotional or physical state, pause before you claim it. Ask. You don't have to carry what isn't yours. You can acknowledge it, have compassion for it, and let it move through without making it your burden. Find your community. There's something irreplaceable about being in a room with people who experience the world the way you do. People who don't need you to explain or justify your sensitivity, who light up when you talk about energy and intuition because they feel it too. Seek out that community. It will change you. I've seen it change people again and again, and it definitely changed me. Reframe the gift. This is maybe the most essential one. Stop seeing your sensitivity as something you have to manage around. Start seeing it as something that you have, a capacity, a tool, a gift to yourself and to everyone else you're here to serve. Because here's the thing about empaths. You're not here to save the world. Let me say that again. You're not here to save the world. You're here to show the world, to model deep connection, authentic presence, compassion that costs something. That's the role. You cannot play it if you spend your whole life wishing you were built differently. If this episode found you at the right moment, if something in here made you feel seen in a way you haven't been seen in a while or before, I want you to know that's not an accident. You found this episode because you were ready for it. Being an empath is not a burden to manage. It's a way of being that, when understood, honored, and trained, is one of the most powerful orientations a person can have. You feel more, yes, and you give more. And when you learn to do it from a place of awareness instead of overwhelm, from choice instead of default, from your own centered energy instead of everyone else's, everything changes. 3 things I want you to walk away with. Awareness. Know how you're feeling and why. Energy management. Be proactive about what you let in and how you replenish. And connection to yourself, to others who understand you, and to the source of whatever keeps you grounded and clear. Those 3 things, practiced consistently, are the foundation of a life as an empath that doesn't run you into the ground, that actually genuinely serves the reason you are here. You're not too much. You're exactly right. And the world is better for having you in it. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, be well.